Can a 1400-year-old book really contain scientific facts we've only just discovered? Or are miracles simply historical events that defy explanation, lacking the evidence we demand today? We've all heard the claims, but what happens when they go head-to-head?
The Bible documents public miracles witnessed by many, not ambiguous verses reinterpreted centuries later to fit modern science.
The Quran contains testable statements about the universe, unlike ancient historical claims that lack any verifiable physical evidence in 2025.
Two students, two faiths. The debate begins now. Welcome. We're bringing together two brilliant students for one of the most anticipated conversations of the year. Representing the Christian perspective is Mary, a passionate student of theology and ancient history.
It's an honor to be here. I believe the miracles in the Bible aren't just stories, they're historical events that demonstrate God's intervention, and they can be scrutinized as such.
And representing the Muslim perspective is Raha, a dedicated researcher of the Quran and its relationship with modern science.
Thanks for having me. For Muslims, the Quran itself is the ultimate miracle, containing signs that seem to anticipate scientific discoveries in a way that demands explanation.
Today, Mary and Raha will critically examine the miracles in their sacred texts. Our goal isn't to declare a winner, but to challenge the evidence presented. So, as you watch, ask yourself, which standard of proof do you find more convincing? Let's begin. So, let's start with the creation of the universe. How do these ancient texts describe our cosmic origins, and how do those claims hold up to scientific scrutiny? Raha, the floor is yours.
Thank you. The Quran makes some profound statements about the universe that were revealed 1400 years ago. A striking example is in Surah Ad-Dhariyat, which says, "And the heaven we constructed with strength, and indeed, we are its expander." The Arabic word used here, musiyun, is from a root meaning to make wider. The popular modern reading connects this directly to the cosmic expansion confirmed by Edwin Hubble in the 20th century. How could a 7th century text use language that so precisely describes a discovery made a millennium later? The prevailing wisdom at the time, from the Greeks, was of a static universe. The Quran also seems to point to a singular origin. In Surah Al-Anbiya, it asks, "Have those who disbelieved not considered that the heavens and the earth were a joined entity, and we separated them?" This idea of a unified beginning that was split apart aligns remarkably well with the Big Bang theory. These aren't vague poetic phrases. They are specific descriptions of cosmic truths that seem to defy their historical context.
A powerful case for scientific foreknowledge. Mary, you're shaking your head. How does the biblical account compare? And what's your critique of this interpretation?
Raha, finding modern cosmology in ancient texts is compelling, but it requires ignoring over 1,000 years of context. Classical Islamic scholars overwhelmingly interpreted the word musiyun to mean that God is vast or bountiful. The idea of cosmic expansion is an entirely modern reinterpretation. It's a textbook example of retrofitting, where a poetic verse is given a new scientific meaning its author and original audience never intended. The Bible's opening, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth," is a radical theological claim, not a scientific one. It posits a single creator and a universe with a definite beginning, a concept that was revolutionary. Its miracle is establishing the who and why of creation. The fact that its core message, that the universe had a beginning from a transcendent creator, is compatible with modern cosmology is remarkable. But to claim Genesis or the Quran are science books is to misread them. You can't claim scientific accuracy for one verse while ignoring others that are clearly not scientific, like the 6-day creation structure.
From the cosmos, we now turn to the miracle of life. Both scriptures contain extraordinary claims about biology. Mary, let's begin with you. What does the Bible present as a key biological miracle?
The Bible is filled with miracles showing God's power over life, but none is more central than the virgin birth of Jesus. It's a direct, supernatural intervention. Beyond that, you have public events like Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. The Gospel of John specifies he'd been dead 4 days, meaning decomposition would have begun. The miracle wasn't just resuscitation, it was a reversal of biological decay, a sign of ultimate power over death itself. These aren't subtle clues hidden in a text. They're historical claims of supernatural intervention. And before we discuss the science in the Quran, we have to address the scientific problems in interpretations of it.
Raha, Mary is questioning the scientific accuracy of the Quranic account. How do you respond, and what is the Quran's primary biological miracle?
The Quran also affirms the virgin birth of Jesus, but the miracle it emphasizes for verification is its detailed description of human embryology. Surah Al-Mu'minun describes our creation in stages, from a nutfa, a tiny drop, to an alaka. This word alaka is stunningly precise, having three meanings: a leech, a suspended thing, and a blood clot. The early embryo visually resembles a leech. It clings to the womb for nourishment, and it is suspended there. Next, it becomes a mudga, or chewed-like substance, which is a perfect description of the somites that form at that stage, looking like teeth marks. This was knowledge impossible for the 7th century. The dominant theory of the time, from Galen, was completely different and incorrect. As for Mary's point, yes, there are debates. The verse says, God made bones, then clothed them with flesh. Modern embryology shows bone and muscle precursors develop concurrently. However, supporters of the miracle argue that the tissues differentiate and the skeleton forms its shape before muscles wrap around it, making it a functionally accurate sequence. To me, one apparent sequential issue doesn't invalidate the multiple other points of stunning, counterintuitive accuracy.
Now let's turn to miracles tied to history. This round explores a key historical event from each tradition. Mary, what is the Bible's most iconic historical miracle?
It has to be the parting of the Red Sea. The Israelites were trapped, Moses stretched out his staff, and a path of dry land appeared. Now, for a long time, this was seen purely as a supernatural event, but scientific inquiry has added a fascinating layer. For instance, the Hebrew yam suf can mean sea of reeds, pointing to a shallower body of water. More importantly, scientific modeling, including work by the National Center for Atmospheric Research, has shown a wind set-down effect is possible. A strong, sustained east wind could hypothetically push water back in a specific, shallow area, exposing mudflats for a time. For believers, science provides a possible mechanism, but the miracle was the perfect, life-saving timing. It's an event where natural forces might have been wielded by a divine hand.
A powerful combination of faith and investigation. But Raha, as a viewer just asked in our live chat, doesn't a scientific explanation just make it a lucky weather event? What is the Quran's counter-argument?
That's exactly the point. If a natural explanation exists, it dilutes the claim of a unique miracle. Furthermore, the supposed archaeological evidence for the Exodus, like coral-encrusted chariot wheels, has been thoroughly debunked by mainstream experts. It has no verifiable physical proof. The Quran, however, offers a different kind of historical miracle. In Surah Al-Hadid, it says, "And we sent down iron, in which is great might." The Arabic word for sent down is anzalna. For centuries, this was seen metaphorically, but today we know it's literally true. All iron on Earth was forged in the cores of ancient massive stars that exploded as supernovas. It was literally sent down to our planet from space. This isn't an unverified event from the past. It is a permanent, verifiable fact based on modern astrophysics. So I ask the audience, which is a greater miracle? A story that may have a natural explanation and lacks evidence, or a statement that is scientifically accurate in a way that was impossible to know for 1400 years?
Now, a crucial part of any debate, cross-examination. Mary and Raha, you can now question each other on one key point. Mary, you may begin.
Raha, you've presented compelling correlations, but you're dismissing the core criticism of retrofitting. You choose a modern scientific meaning for a word like museon, expander, when for over 1,000 years it was simply understood as vast or bountiful. How can you prove this isn't just confirmation bias? searching an ancient text for connections that the original author and audience would never have recognized. Isn't it more intellectually honest to accept the original non-scientific meaning?
It's a fair question, but it assumes the meaning must be singular. For believers, the Quran's language is multi-layered. A verse can have an immediate meaning for its time, like God's power, while holding a deeper, precise meaning designed to be unlocked by later generations. The root for musiyun does mean to make wider, so cosmic expansion is a linguistically valid, not a forced interpretation. The Quran itself says, "We will show them our signs in the horizons and within themselves until it becomes clear to them that it is the truth." This implies a process of discovery over time. The miracle isn't just the statement, it's the pattern of statements, aligning with specific, often counterintuitive, modern discoveries.
Raha, your turn to question Mary.
Mary, my question is about the standard of evidence. For the raising of Lazarus, you're describing a man publicly returning from biological decay. This would be the most incredible event of its time. Yet, it is completely absent from the other three Gospels and from any known non-biblical historical record. That silence is deafening. If faith requires us to believe in events that lack the extraordinary evidence we demand for any other historical claim, how is that intellectually different from simply accepting a story without proof?
This highlights the different standards for evidence between a scientific claim and a historical one. We cannot repeat a historical event in a lab. We have to rely on testimony. First, the Gospels aren't exhaustive court transcripts. They are ancient biographies with different authors, sources, and theological goals. John's focus was on specific signs to prove Jesus' divinity. An absence in Matthew or Mark doesn't disprove John. Second, and more importantly, Christian faith is not based on isolated miracles. It is a comprehensive case that rests on the central testimony of the resurrection of Jesus himself. The miracles are part of that larger body of evidence from witnesses. So it's not belief without evidence, it's trust in a consistent body of testimonial evidence presented in the foundational documents.
We have heard two fundamentally different approaches to miracles in 2025. Raha has presented the Quran's miracles as intellectual, verifiable signs, statements on cosmology, embryology, and metallurgy that seem to contain knowledge far ahead of their time, pointing to a divine source. These are miracles of information. Mary has defended the Bible's miracles as public, historical acts of God: the parting of the sea, the virgin birth, raising the dead. She argues these are not scientific texts but are historical testimonies of God's direct intervention, which must be evaluated as historical claims, all pointing to the central figure of Jesus. These are miracles of action. One view champions scientific foreknowledge that can be tested today. The other champions historical testimony that demands a response of faith. One asks us to analyze data within a text. The other asks us to trust witnesses to events that defy data. Which standard of evidence do you hold? What makes a miracle credible in our modern world? Is it a permanent scientific fact embedded in a text, or a historical event that shattered the laws of science? The debate doesn't end here. We need to hear from you. Which argument was more scientifically rigorous? Which claim had a greater burden of proof, and did the speaker meet it? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. If you value these kinds of in-depth discussions, please subscribe and share this video. It helps us continue to create content that challenges and informs. Thank you for joining us in this search for facts.
Until the next video, God bless.
And until the next video, Christ bless.